Well, scary stories have been a part of life since I was a kid. I remember watching the show Are You Afraid of the Dark and enjoying getting scared. Every Saturday night at 8 p.m., I was there. I had my snack, my drink, and I would watch, and yeah, I would get scared, but it was a good kind of scare. It got your adrenaline going, and probably one of my favorite things to do, or watch. Getting scared can be fun. Can be, okay? Now, I admit, there's some things where it's a little too much. It's a bit of a sensory overload. Like I've mentioned before, I'm afraid of spiders. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of mirrors. I'm afraid of... what am I not afraid of? I'm afraid of a lot of things. But watching a scary movie, watching a scary show, listening to a scary story, yes, it's a scare, but it's a different kind of scare for me. Gives me a bit of goosebumps, but nothing that I can't handle. I remember in elementary, kids would talk about la mano pachona, and they would say, "Oh, it's this big, hand that grabs you and takes you away, and it drags you to hell." And it was scary. Honestly, that would scare me quite a bit, just because why is there a disembodied hand coming after? Like, where did it come from? Who does it belong to? I remember once in a Scholastic book fair, there was a book called The Monkey's Paw. And I remember picking it up, and I asked my mom if I could buy it. She's like, "It's scary." I said, "That's fine. I want it." And I bought it. I don't know what happened. It wasn't a very big book, too. It was very, very tiny and thin. And it was green, and it had, like, a gorilla-looking paw on there. I don't know what happened to it. I just know that I bought it. I read a little bit of it. Didn't read much of it. Put it away, and I never saw the book again. But it reminded me of that, scary story that the kids would tell of La Mano Pachona. I don't know. It freaked me out a little bit, and I would think, oh my gosh, like, it, honestly, why would I think that there was going to be a hand, trying to grab me, a big hairy hand under my bed? But I would. I remember, eventually, like, outgrowing that fear, but fear of other things would pop up in my catechism classes. I remember I would go to the restroom, like, in between, like, give us a little break, and I would go to the restroom, and I remember some of the girls would be talking, and they'd say, "Oh, let's summon, like a Bloody Mary," and I'm like, no, you don't mess up that. There is something about watching a scary movie and then watching or trying to summon something. Like, you don't conjure things up, you don't summon things up, because you don't want that negative energy. And I say this because I think I've mentioned before, well, if I haven't mentioned it here, I know I mentioned it somewhere, that my car, like, I believe, está embrujado. That car is just weird. It finally gave out. Had to get a new one. I finally got a new one. Yay! I blessed it. I said, "May you last me better than the previous car did." It was a good car. It did serve its purpose for a while, until eventually just couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, there would be times I would be driving that car, and I would feel something kick me in the back of the chair. And I would get scared because for work, I would have to drive quite a bit, and I would drive sometimes long distances by myself. One time I was driving to Bayview, and I remember getting a kick in the back of my chair, and it scared me. Like, it sent a chill down my spine, because why? It was just weird. Now things have happened at home, and it's always a little scary, and yeah, it gives me a little chill down my spine too, but nothing quite like that. I don't conjure things up. I try not to conjure anything up. I'm pretty sure I have mentioned that I watch scary stuff, like ghost adventure things, outside at a coffee shop, because I don't want to bring anything here or conjure anything here. And yet things happen at home, okay? Now, why did I bring this up? Because things happen at home, and if you check out our latest TikTok, you'll see what happens, okay? I just want to say that Coffee and Calacas is a weekly podcast, and we do share stories of the supernatural, discuss mysticism, and explore the beyond. I hope you can stick around for our future episodes, and hopefully you enjoyed this week's episode. Thank you. I got this really cool glass on Etsy. I'll tag the person I got it from in the link box, description box. I love it. Not sure if you can really see it because it's a little, it is iced coffee because I love iced coffee, and it says iced or hot, I like it a lot. I'll drink coffee till I rot. I'll post a picture of it on Instagram for those who are listening on Spotify so you can actually see the cup. And on Instagram I'll send a link to the person's Etsy shop. It's really cute. Hopefully you can support, small businesses. I like to support small businesses. If you have a small business for me to support, send me an email with your business link, and I'm happy to, buy it, share something, love it. Okay. So, La Mano Pachona, La Mano Peluda, one and the same. Growing up as a kid, I remember hearing the kids call it La Mano Pachona. Pachona, meaning hairy. It's a hairy person, a hairy thing. And they always described it as a tarantula-looking thing, just very, hairy-ish, okay? Dark, brown, blackish, hairy-ish, okay? Peluda, that's kind of, if you do a Google search, that is what you're going to get. That's what's going to give you the best results, okay? Googling La Mano Pachona doesn't give you as good of a hit as La Mano Peluda. But I was looking into it to see, where does this story come from? And why is it shared amongst, kids in the schoolyard? Honestly, I couldn't figure out why it's shared around with kids, other than, they just want to give you a scare. But it's got a pretty interesting backstory, I suppose. So it goes that La Mano Peluda, it comes from Mexico. It's a legend that comes from Mexico. It's a story that comes from Mexico. And it's something a little on the scarier side, okay? You got legends that come there. I don't know what's wrong with Mexico. Not that there's anything wrong with Mexico, but a lot of scary stories come from Mexico. And you got La Llorona, you got La Mano Peluda, and I mean there's more. I actually have a book, and I think one of these episodes I probably will do a short read on some of the stories in that book. I love it. My mom got that book when she was working at the university library, and in there it actually has stories from people that have shared from all over the place. I don't think it's just locally in Brownsville or anything like that, but it's really interesting. It's actually written by a local professor who still works at the university. I need to email him, see if he has anything to add, to share. I would really love his perspective on some of these things. So anyways, so the legend of La Mano Peluda takes place in the state of Puebla in Mexico. It happens in the capital of Puebla to begin with too, okay? So back in the days, it doesn't give me a time period per se, but it did say that it happened in the beginning of the 20th century. And there's a lot of pawn shops, and in español lo dicen casas de empeño. And there was one where people would go to I guess quite often, okay? This particular shop was managed by a man called Señor Villa, but for some reason he was known as Mr. Horta, okay? He was a very short man, heavy set, bald, and a very hairy man. Very, very hairy. Some stories say that he looked kind of like a short Sasquatch, like a short gorilla, a little gorilla-ish looking, which makes sense. Gorillas are very hairy, and pues, the man's hairy, okay? So it said that this man was very vain, and he loved to wear big, thick rings on his fingers. I don't know how. I cannot type with jewelry on. I bought a ring for my master's degree, and it's beautiful. I love it. I love that I bought it and I earned it, but it's very heavy and it's pretty thick, and I cannot type with it comfortably. I'm actually wearing a ring right now, but it's very light. But again, I'm not typing at this moment. If not, I probably wouldn't be using it, just because, like, for work, I cannot type with things on my hands. I often take off my watch too, just because I feel uncomfortable using it. But yeah, this man had a bunch of rings on his finger, and, I mean, I guess he pulled a Beyonce, and he's like, if you like it, so he put a ring on that. So he liked himself, so he put a ring on that. I know, guys, I know. Sometimes my brain just goes everywhere, and, you gotta make a joke. But this guy, Mr. Horta, was a very greedy man, okay? So greedy that he would take advantage of the people. I don't know if you've ever gone to a pawn shop before to pawn something, but I have. And when I've gone, it's because I'm in the need of money fast for whatever reason. And you want to get the most of whatever you're pawning, or selling to the pawn shop. I've had to go to the pawn shop like that to pay for my school books, for textbooks and stuff like that. And sometimes it's gone. I don't recover what I've pawned, because it's hard to recover that money back with the interest and all that. And especially when you're a student, a college student, it's hard to recover from that. But I have. So I understand you go to a pawn shop to get the most for whatever you're trying to get, because you need the money. And you don't go there for fun. You go there out of a need, out of a necessity. So the people would go there to him out of necessity, looking to get money to pay for their bills or whatever they needed to do. And Mr. Horta would take advantage of all these poor people, would give them the minimum for whatever they were needing, okay? And he would treat his customers just very badly, real rude, just a total ass, okay? And Mr. Horta had a wife, and he, for some reason they called her La Gangosa. I guess she was very lanky and just, ugly person too, probably. I mean, by the looks of this, you have to be ugly to hang out with Mr. Horta. Anyway, people were always pissed off at Mr. Horta because of the way he treated them. And people were mad at his wife too, so whenever they would see him, they would, say, que se te seque la mano. May God dry out your hand. And that's another story for you too. I'll get to that right now. So yeah, people would pass by his business, and they would spit at it, and they would curse at it, and they would often say, may your hand dry out. Okay. After many years, eventually Mr. Horta died, and according to legend, his wife bought the cheapest casket she can get, didn't even attend his own funeral, took off with all his money and left him, and she was like, laters. The only people that attended, I believe, the funeral were was the priest and the cemetery keeper, crypt keeper. I don't know what you call him. Groundskeeper. Thank you myself for. I thank me for coming up with my own answer. So people, like I told you, people would curse at him, and as divine punishment, it was said that his hand dried out, and all the rings on his hand, like, kind of got stuck on whatever was there, the flesh and things, whatnot, and it looked black, and it was disgusting. And because of all the hair he had, it just looked hairy. Okay. Other people say that legend has it that he was dragged to hell, and his hand had an insatiable craving for, blood, and that's why this happened, right? So, according to this, time passed, but it wasn't until the newspaper El Duende, the Goblin, published an article about a gravedigger at the cemetery, okay? It says that every night he saw a terrifying hairy hand crawling out from a grave, and it would search for victims, okay? That it would choke them, take their eyes out or something. And the hairy hand would return back until it was satisfied after killing people. And it just so happened that that grave was Mr. Horta's grave, and that it would come back to the grave every night after doing its deeds, and wouldn't go out until the next night to go and hurt more people. Nowadays there are people that swear that they have seen this hairy hand run in the fields and that it looks like a deformed tarantula. Maybe that's where these kids would tell me, like, era como una tarantula, a tarantula. That's what they would see, because people would describe it like that. They look like a little deformed tarantula. It reminds me of the hand from the Addams Family. I think the hand was called It. So it says they would see it in fields. People even say that they are dragged out of their beds while they're sleeping by this demonic hand with superhuman strength. And next time you go to Puebla, just be careful who you're talking to and careful where you sleep, that the hand might just grab you and take you. Okay. Now, I don't know how true that is, okay? If people have experienced that or not. But I'm not here to judge you about your experiences. Hey, if you've experienced that, talk to me about it. I really want to know. To me, it's a little creepy thinking that a hand will pull you out. This is why you sleep with your feet under the covers, okay? Because nothing can get you when you're covered in, you're tucked in, okay? I know it gets a little warm, but just stick out a toe. Just stick out a toe. Just don't stick out the whole foot. Because if you're covered in, you're tucked in like a little burrito, nothing can get you. The bed covers are your safety net. At least that's what I was believed. Until eventually, I started feeling things touch my bed and stuff in the middle of the night, and I'm like, okay, apparently they can still get you even if you are in the covers. Anyway, so as I was saying, people curse at Mr. Orta, saying that, may your hand dry out. And I remember one time, I don't know what I did, but I know I made my grandma mad. And I think I threw something at her, I hit her or something like that. It must have either I thrown something at her and it hit her and she got mad, or I smacked her and she got mad. I'm not too sure on that detail exactly. All I know is that my grandma was pissed off and she said to me, "Se te va a sacar la mano!" And I was like, "Excuse me, what?" And it was such a fear, that my hand was going to dry out because I hit her. And often she would say that. She would often say that. And eventually I realized, Grandma, you're lying to me. Why are you lying to me, Grandma? Why are you telling me things? Why would you curse me like that? But grandmas, what can I tell you? They have their own little beliefs and stuff. But yeah, my grandma would often curse me like that. I'm like, Grandma, ¿qué gacha? Why are you trying to curse me with, my hand drying now? Instead say, que nunca se te seque la mano? Pues, jeez. But yeah, if you think back, if I think back to what the kids would tell me in school, it was that there was a hairy hand. They never gave me the whole Mr. Orta thing, but they would say, era una mano que venía en la noche, and it was looking for people to take, and it would grab you and it would try to choke you and stuff. That it was a big hairy hand. It looked like a big tarantula, como mano de chango, or mano de gorila, and it kind of freaked me out. I remember going to the zoo as a kid and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like seeing the gorillas and picturing their hand coming for me at night. It's a little freaky, but nonetheless, it's a legend. Legends come from some sort of truth, of course, but from where did it start? We don't really know. It has been referred to as, like I said, la mano peluda, la mano pachona. It has even referred to as la mano negra. It sort of has to do with, in past, the hand of glory, okay? So the hand of glory, if you're not aware of, it's a hand that would get cut off of a person who committed a crime. And they would pickle it. They would store it in a jar. And it was the hand that, they're like, and the reason they would call it glory, because, they're glorifying it because you done fucked up, and, now you are handless, and your hand is being displayed as a warning to others. Don't do this stuff. It's a disembodied hand. Now, people say that disembodied hands are the results of a curse from a witch. How true is that? Or how is it connected? I'm not too sure exactly. I should have looked into it a little bit more. I possibly will, and then just do a follow-up on that. But it says the disembodied hands are the result of the hand witch's curse, where she takes the target's hand from them. The hand witch can control the hands as well. So, could this hand be just that, it's a cursed hand that was, taken by this witch who now controls it, and, it does her bidding. As I mentioned, when you have a lechuza, the lechuza is the witch herself, but at the same time, I think the lechuza can, or the witch can control animals to an extent, and they do her bidding for her. It taunts people that way. And in Japan, because, disembodied hands are not just a thing of Mexico. Yes, this story, La Mano, Peluda, is a story that comes or originates from Mexico, but it's not just Mexican folklore, Mexican legends that talk about it. You often do have other cultures that will bring it up, and one of those cultures is the Japanese culture, and it mentions, I'm going to try to pronounce this. If I butcher it, I'm sorry, but it's called Akateco, and it's referred to as the red child's hand. It's a monster that's described as a red hand of a small child that descends from a tree. It is accompanied by a specter, so sort of like an entity of a young woman at the base of the tree who, lulls you. So she's kind of like a siren. She lulls you into a trance, and the hand will then grab the traveler by the neck and rip them apart limb from limb. Okay. Now, in Native American culture, in their legends and their folklore, they have one called Oniate, and it's the dry fingers or the dry hand. It's a disembodied, mummified arm of the Iroquois folklore. In some stories, the dry fingers is purely a boogeyman appearing in deserted areas to terrorize people passing by. But in other stories, the dry fingers is a vengeful apparition that only punishes the badly behaved people, especially those who speak evil of the dead, sow discord, or pry into others' businesses. If you're being metiche, te agarra la mano. Okay, basically. This arm can fly, and any person touched by it is withered. Dried fingers is killed, afflicted with a disease, or struck blind. Okay, so that's creepy. Yeah, I remember, like I told you, these kids in school would often say that the hand, I think they did mention that the hand would fly or hide and then like leap and jump at you, kind of like glide in the air and fly, sort of. But either way, that's scary. It's something to picture of a flying hand. It's creepy. Like I said, the hand, the La Mano Peluda, it's not just native to Mexico. It's all over. I'm pretty sure if I do more research, I can find stuff in other places, in other regions as well, which there might be a follow-up, I'll see what else, or who else has stories of disembodied hands. It's such a good, interesting topic, you know what I mean? Yeah, but the Iroquois folklore did have a dried hand that would attack people, and with their folklore, it says that it would punish people who misbehaved, badly behaved people. That yes, it could be vengeful, but it was only punishing people who misbehaved. And I think sometimes it would terrorize people as well. But yeah, this, according with the Mano Peluda, it just attacked anyone. There wasn't es porque te portaste mal. Now, parents might say that to their kids just to, freak them out some. which might be how this legend gets passed down from, generation to generation, because it's a tactic that parents use to control their kids from misbehaving. And it's like, te va a llevar el señor con el costal, I love that one. That's one I hear often at the stores. Te va a llevar la mano. My grandma with her, se te va a sacar la mano por si me pegas. So it's tactics that are used on kids, just to trip them out and get them guessing, keep them guessing of what's going to happen to them. Is it a good tactic? I don't know. I mean, a scary story is good, but I wouldn't say it's the best tactic to use when you're trying to trip, freak out a kid. I probably wouldn't use it. What are your thoughts on La Mano Peluda? Let me know. I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode of La Mano Peluda. If this isn't, the right topic for you, feel free to look at all our other episodes, and I'm pretty sure you'll find something that suits your likes. If you have a topic that you want to share with me, go ahead and shoot me an email at calacaspod@gmail.com. Had to think about that for a second. Yeah, it's calacaspod@gmail.com. And I am happy to take any requests, comment on any of the videos too if you want to, or send me a message on Instagram. Honestly, Instagram is probably, it's one of the social media I do check most often. So shoot me a message there, and I'm happy to discuss something that you're interested in. Follow us on TikTok. We have a TikTok, and maybe I don't post stuff often there, but I did post something there recently, and I'm pretty sure you're going to want to watch that video. So follow Coffee and Calacas on social media. Visit our webpage at calacaspod.com, and we do have links to all our social media accounts there. Remember to like and subscribe for all our latest content. And remember that life begins after coffee.